And we continue processing the findings of the 2022 census results. The statistics indicated a decline in the number of legally married couples. And so far, South Africans are losing interest in the tradition of marriage. At least that's the question we're posing to our expert, who is the counselling psychologist, Nkateko Ndala-Magoro. Good afternoon to you, Nkateko, and thank you so much for joining us. If you just turn your picture, there we go. I can see you better now. Just give us a sense of what's going on as we try and make sense of the census that, marriages or traditional legal marriages are on the decline.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Cindy, and good afternoon to the viewers as well. As you mentioning, the census has shown a decline in legal marriages, so people are opting for different models or different forms of marriages or unions, if I were to put it that way, because the traditional marriage or the legal way of getting married, people have always attributed it to maybe, because of religion, because of procreation, of, parenting, of economical value. So because those things are no longer, the main thing to be going for, especially the economic security for women, that's when we see a decline in the civil marriages or the legal marriages, but people are still opting to be with each other in different ways of being in a union.
Yeah, is this just general evolution in the sense that, as you highlighted, now there are opportunities, more opportunities for economic empowerment and inclusion for women, and even resources and funding to the likes. There's no the over-reliance financially on a man, so you're independent, you're able to fend for yourself. Do you think that's also one big dynamic that has led to less women, or wanting to commit in a marriage for the sake of being in a union like that?
Absolutely. So if you look at it, marriages also used to be what we call maybe a shotgun marriage, a marriage of convenience. Immediately when a woman becomes pregnant, there was an arrangement for that woman to be married because you bringing shame to your family, or you want to bring up this child in a two-parent household. But because of that upward movement, the economic upward movement, where you can still have different households who are raising the child together, you don't necessarily need to be in the same household to raise this child, as long as you are present, as long as you are, participating and responsible for this child. So that used to be some of the drivers, and as I also mentioned, the religion as well, that used to be also a driver, and status. Status used to be a huge driver in people being married. So to wear a ring, or to say I'm a married woman or I'm a married man, used to stand a particular, or you used to have a particular audience in society because of being your status being married.
Mrs. So-and-so, kumba ngopagati, as they say in Nkateko. But I just want to check, on the census itself, is this an indication, or rather the sense that we've lost any hope of romance, of love, and for people to be married for the right reasons? In other words, you want to spend the rest of your life with that person, you can't live without them, they are your forever mina. Are we saying that we've just lost all sense of hope when it comes to romance and love and those reasons that anchor a relationship?
I don't think that is the case. And I'm reflecting on the weekend of the 24th. I think we had over 1,000 weddings that happened. And if those weddings are necessarily marriage, so registered marriages, or they were just unions, so your traditional marriages. So I don't think we have lost hope in the romance, in the forever, where now, that kind of a scenario. I think it's in a way in which people are navigating and starting to get into being in a union. So maybe, possibly what the census is reflecting, it's possible that it's not reflecting this different unions. And as you know, we have different unions in South Africa, the traditional or customary and also the civil. So maybe the customary ones are not well captured, which, as I'm saying, the long weekend of the 24th, KZN, Limpopo, there were, a number of recorded weddings that were happening in those spaces, and possibly that is not reflected in that. So I don't think as a society we have lost that, but also it's possible that people are also conscious in what they are choosing, how they are choosing, and when they are choosing. We're also seeing in the statistics that people are choosing to get married much later than before. So in their 30s, in their 40s versus in their 20s. And that also speaks to how with knowledge, with information, with career growth and projection and career trajectory, people are choosing to get married much later because of the information and because of what they want to focus on versus maybe just being married. So we still have cohabitation that is on the rise. We still have people who have arrangements that are different from the civil union that is recorded maybe in the census. And so people are still living together, and marriage is still that union or being together in a committed relationship is still that union that gives people a safety net, a sense of belonging. Obviously, when the union is toxic, we speak of something different. It's not
which brings me to this question, Nkateko, about why there are psychological barriers or even past traumas that one may have experienced, or even observing your parents in a household in how they relate to each other, which will then inform your decision whether you want to get married or not. So the preparation of wanting to get into a holy union, a matrimony, etc., also has to deal with introspection and fixing the self before you then get into a partnership where you could potentially be the toxic or violent or, a person in that. Talk us through the past experiences and the traumas, the baggages that often lead to people not wanting to get married because of their own experiences.
Definitely, and that happens a lot where people are ready, set, they are about to get into this union. They come into my, therapy room, and we start working on issues, and they realize that, there are things that are unresolved. And I have a couple actually that I'm currently seeing. And, previously when they started seeing me, they wanted to start with premarital counseling. And as we were dealing with other issues, we had to hold on premarital counseling because it was very clear that they are bringing things from their childhood that is, even going to say to them, can we even make a decision? Did we make a decision to get married from a, informed place, from a conscious place, or we were just going with emotion because that is supposed to be the next level that we take the relationship into? So most definitely past traumas, past relationships, what people have observed their parents or people close to them, their role modeling marriage can be a damper on them making that decision, or it can even make them to reevaluate their decision to want to get married, where they say, okay, let's pause a little bit. And I'm glad that is happening, because what used to happen, and I remember I was with this other couple, they had already taken out lobola, so the negotiation has already happened. They were set on the date, and they came to me for premarital counseling, but there were so many red flags. And then the male fiance said, I guess we cannot put a handbrake on this because there is already a date. And for me, they were heading for disaster at that time after we have fleshed out so many red flags. So nowadays we see that people are willing to put a pause and saying, let's deal with what is happening. Let's deal with our childhood traumas, or we are committing to this and we know that there are things that we need to work on versus going in blindly.
All right, really appreciate your time. That's Nkateko Ndala-Magoro. She's the counseling psychologist and founder of Wellness Life Incorporated. But to those of you that are getting married over the weekend, we wish you nothing but the best success, lots of love and romance.